All right, let's talk about taking bold to a whole new level. And when I say the word bold, the way I define bold is taking decisive action today to make a better tomorrow. And you know, we humans have a long history of being bold. And where I'd like to start this conversation is 200,000 years ago. So 200,000 years ago, the humans that walked on Earth were anatomically similar to you and I. But for 130,000 years, we lived basically like animals. There's hardly any progress whatsoever in the fossil record. I mean, can you imagine living in a world where the next 1,000 years looks like the last 1,000 years for 130,000 years? That's how we lived on this planet. People just as intelligent as you and I. And then 70,000 years ago, something happened. Nobody knows what. It's known as the cognitive revolution or the Great Leap. And what archaeologists tell us is there was an explosion of art and tools and human migration. And what anthropologists tell us is we learned to talk. We discovered speech. We invented language. And every time we've changed how we connect, communicate, and collaborate, our world has fundamentally changed. You know, whether it was learning to talk or to write or the printing press, radio, TV, internet, World Wide Web, social media, and now generative AI, every time we've changed how we connect, communicate, and collaborate, our world has changed till we find ourselves on this exponential trajectory. And it doesn't matter what you plot, GDP, words written, energy consumed, we are on this exponential trajectory. So let's just take a moment to look at how the world is just changing right before our eyes. The first thing that we see is that we're becoming more digital. If you look at the top 10 populations, half of them reside on social media. There's actually more people living on Facebook than living in China. And if Facebook was a country, not only would its population be greater than China, but its GDP would be greater than the United States. And that was 5 years ago. There's only 2 countries left. So the first thing that you see is we're becoming much more digital as a species. The second thing that we see is less babies are being born. We're approaching what's called peak child, where there's not the replacement rate for humans on Earth. And this isn't only true in the developed nations, but the developing nations as well. So less babies are being born, but at the same time, we're living longer than ever before. You know, if you go back to 10,000 BC, the average life expectancy was 31 years. That's child mortality, wars, disease, everything taken into account. Fast forward to 1900, and we'd only gained 3 years. The life expectancy in 1900 was 34 years old. But in the 20th century, we more than doubled life expectancy, and there's no reason to believe that we won't double life expectancy again in the 21st century. And I love this Time magazine cover. It says, this baby could live to be 142 years old. And so my only question for you is, what are you going to do with the 80 years you have left when you retire at age 62? So less babies are being born, we're living longer, and that's causing something that has never happened in all of human history. 200,000 years of Homo sapiens sapiens, this has never happened. It's not true for any animal species on the planet. We are now at a place where there are more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 5, and this will be true for at least the next 100 years. There's more grandparents than grandbabies on planet Earth. So we're digitizing, we're aging, and we're also urbanizing. And I find this fantastic. The United Nations estimates that between now and 2060, we will double the number of buildings on Earth. And that's like building 1 New York City per month for the next 40 years. And you might be like, no way, 1 New York City per month for the next 40 years? Well, you have to realize that China used as much concrete in a 3-year period as the United States used in the entire 20th century. So we are urbanizing very rapidly. And at the same time, if every human being, all 8 billion of us, had the same standard of living as you and I, we'd need 3 planet Earths to have enough water, energy, and materials. And of course, we only have 1 planet Earth. I think you'd agree we're living in this VUCA world, this volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, complex world. But the good news is we're very resilient. And I'd like to take you back to a time that was another VUCA world. I'd like to take you back just 100 years ago today. And let's just pretend we're a group of business leaders, community leaders, artists, all gathered in La Crosse, Wisconsin, asking ourselves, how do we grow our businesses? How do we grow our communities? How do we compete on a global scale? And right at our fingertips are these technologies that were introduced to the world since the end of the Civil War, since 1865. We've seen the advent of electricity, the telephone, the automobile, the airplane, air conditioning. Just 19 years ago, in 1905, Albert Einstein published his papers that laid the foundation for solid-state physics, quantum physics, and the atomic bomb. In 45 years, we're going to be walking on the moon. And this picture looks awfully quaint to us today. So let's fast forward to present day. Here we are, a group of business leaders and community leaders and artists gathered in La Crosse, Wisconsin, asking ourselves, how do we grow our businesses? How do we grow our communities? How do we compete on a national and global scale? And again, right at our fingertips are these technologies. Since the Civil Rights Act, since 1964, we've seen the advent of nanotechnology, synthetic biology, quantum computers, artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, blockchain, additive manufacturing like 3D printing, and now we're even seeing atomically precise manufacturing. And these technologies will completely revolutionize the 21st century to the point where this picture is going to look just as quaint as the previous one. So how do we navigate in this rapidly changing world that we're in? And I think we've got to be bold. We got to be bold at an individual level, a leader level, an organizational level, and a societal level. So I think where that all starts is by, I love this quote by Omar Bradley, which is, we need to navigate by the stars, not by the light of every passing ship. And so we need to put the stars in the sky that we all can navigate to, a common vision that we're pursuing. But the first and most important star is your star. You got to put your North Star up in the sky. What is your purpose? What is your passion? What is really driving you? Because I really do believe when you're pursuing your purpose and passion in life, the entire universe conspires for your success. And so how do you find your purpose and passion? And I love this concept of ikigai. This is a Japanese concept, and they've done studies. People who really know their ikigai tend to live longer, happier, healthier lives. And your ikigai lies at the intersection of asking yourself 4 questions. What do you really love to do? Not what somebody else thinks you should do, but what do you really love to do? What are you really good at? What's the world need, and what can you get paid to do? And at the intersection of those 4 things, what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can pay to do is your ikigai. That's your purpose and passion in life. And it's so important to find that. The other thing that I think is really critical is really embracing a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. We got to get out of our comfort zone. All the magic resides outside of our comfort zone. We got to really embrace challenges. Take feedback. Don't be defensive. Take that feedback in. Persevere. Put in the efforts to grow. And I love this one, is be inspired by others' success. And I would take that a step further. Be the person that helps others people be successful. I really do believe the best way to be successful in life is to help others. I've held a lot of executive positions at major corporations. And what I found was the best way to have power and control in an organization is to completely give it away. The more power and control you give away, the more influence you have in an organization. And so I'd like to tell you a little story about purpose, passion, vision, and a growth mindset. And it's Elon Musk. You guys might have seen this story. Elon Musk came to Canada with $2,000 in his pocket. He lost his backpack, had no money, comes down to California, writes some code that turns out to be zip.com, that it gets incorporated into PayPal, that gets sold, and he has $200 million. And he's like, what do I do with this $200 million? And so he got all of his best friends together with some beer and said, hey, let's brainstorm on what I could do with this $200 million. And around 2 a.m., Elon Musk kind of stumbles up to the whiteboard and he draws this picture. And he says, this is what I'm going to do with the $200 million. And everybody was like, well, what the heck is that? And he said, well, I'm going to put a greenhouse on Mars as a lifeboat for humans. We need to become a multi-planetary species. If something happens to the Earth, we've got to have someplace else to go. And so that was his vision, put a greenhouse on Mars as a lifeboat for humans. And in order to do that, he said, you know what? I'm going to need rockets. Originally, he wanted to really have these rockets powered by batteries, and these batteries were going to be powered by the sun. And of course, the rockets became SpaceX, the batteries became Tesla, and powered by the sun became Solar City. And so that's the power of having a vision, putting those stars in the sky to really drive where you're going to. And so my question for all of you is, what's your moonshot? Or really more appropriately, what's your Mars shot? We've already been to the moon. What is your Mars shot? My Mars shot is to help create businesses that improve people's lives. And when I talk about people, let me put that in a little bit of context. You know, over the last 50,000 years, 100 billion people have been born, lived, and died on this planet. Today, you and I make up one of 8 billion people on the planet. And the United Nations estimates that over the next 50,000 years, 6.75 trillion people are yet to be born and live on this planet. And as Roman Krasnarek asked, are those people going to consider us good ancestors? Or the way I would put it, when they write their history books about us, will they talk about us creating the next Renaissance or the next Dark Ages? The choice is up to us. Another question for you is, who wants to be a billionaire? Because I really do believe every single one of us can be a billionaire if we stop defining a billionaire as somebody who accumulates $1 billion and start defining it as somebody who helps 1 billion people. I think we can help 1 billion people, maybe help 1 trillion people, through what I call humanity-centric innovation. So what is humanity-centric innovation? You might be familiar with consumer-centric innovation, which happens at this creative collision of what's needed by the customer, what's required by the business, and what's possible through science and technology. And you can start with any one, but you need all three to have an innovation. You can start with a customer need, but you better have a business model that's profitable, and you better have an offering that gives them a reason to believe through some type of technology. So you bring those three together, you have an innovation. Well, humanity-centric innovation happens at the creative collision of what are the needs of humanity? What are the business models of the 21st century? And what are the exponential technologies that can make that economically viable and scalable? And so when I talk about the needs of humanity, this is captured really well in the UN SDGs, the 17 SDGs, like ending poverty, achieving gender equality, taking climate action, and the other 14 of them. And when I talk about business models of the 21st century, these are really captured well in the book, The Future's Faster Than You Think, by Peter Diamandis and Stephen Kotler. There's 7 of them. I'll just highlight 3 of them real quickly. One is the free data economy of Google and Facebook. Another one is the crowd economy of Airbnb and Uber. Another one is the smartness economy of smartphones, smart speakers, and ChatGPT. And when I talk about exponential technologies, this is artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, quantum computers, blockchain, advanced manufacturing, these technologies. And the idea is to bring these together into this creative collision. Choose a need, choose a problem that needs to be solved. Use one of these 21st century business models with science and technology to make it economically viable and scalable. You know, I really believe charities are important, but they're not scalable necessarily. Businesses are. We need to start creating businesses with purpose. Businesses that are focused on purpose, profit, and prosperity for all. So let me give you two examples of humanity-centric innovation. The first one is number 6, to provide clean water and sanitation to everybody on Earth. And this first bubble here is all the water on planet Earth. All the oceans, all the rivers, all the lakes. And you might look at that and say, wait a minute, I thought the surface of the Earth was 72% water. And you'd be right, but you have to remember, that's just a thin film of liquid on this huge rock we call home. So that first bubble is literally all the water on planet Earth. The second bubble is all the fresh water on planet Earth. But you have to remember, a lot of that is trapped in the polar ice caps at the North and South Pole. And so this third bubble, about the size of Atlanta, is all the fresh water we have at any given point in time for all 8 billion people on planet Earth. Luckily, it's a renewable resource through the hydrodynamic cycle, but that is all the water we have at any given point in time for all 8 billion people on Earth. And so there's this company called Free Water. And so he took a problem like, hey, we need to provide clean water. The business model is the packaging has this advertising, and then the technology is using QR codes to really drive people to the advertiser's website and see what their offerings are. And so he's providing free water through a new business model and technology. That's an example of humanity-centric innovation. The other one I'll highlight, and I've got a bunch more of these, but just in the interest of time, is number 12, is around really ensuring, sustainable production and consumption. And I'm sure you're aware of this, but right now in the Pacific Ocean is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's twice the size of Texas, contains trillions of pieces of plastic, and there's another one just like it in the Atlantic Ocean, and 3 more just like it in the Southern Hemisphere. And if we continue on this path, by 2050, there will actually be more plastic in the ocean than fish. The other concern I have is the consumption of plastic. You might not realize it, but every ounce of food you eat, every ounce of beverage you drink, every ounce of air you breathe contains micro and nanoplastics. Just walking across this carpet, you probably sheared off some nanoparticles and microparticles of nylon that we all breathed into our lungs. And it's estimated that each one of us eats about 1 to 3 credit cards worth of plastic per year. And just 2 years ago, we've now found microplastics circulating in human blood. And so how do we start to address this issue? And an entrepreneur, when he was 22 years old, Boyan Slat, he started Ocean Cleanup. And he's already removed 17 million pounds of plastic, and he's got a goal to remove 90% of all floating plastic by 2040. So you might say, oh, that's great. But what does all this mean for Wisconsin? Let's get back to Wisconsin and what this actually means for us. And the first thing I would say is that we've got to remember that disruption happens really, really fast. And I love these 2 photographs. They were both taken on 5th Avenue in New York City. The one taken in 1900 says, "Spot the car." There's only one. Everything else is horse and buggy. Only 13 years later, same spot on 5th Avenue, spot the horse, there's only one, everything else is automobiles. That's how fast disruption happens. And guess what? It's about to happen again. These pictures say, spot the driver. And just like we heard this morning, the ride in Phoenix, the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed. And the former vice chairman of General Motors has been quoted as saying that no one will own or operate a vehicle by 2035. They'll all be self-driving, Uber-like cars. So disruption happens incredibly quickly. So how do we, as Wisconsin, compete? You got the Texas Triangle connecting Dallas, Houston, and Austin. You got the Research Triangle in North Carolina, Silicon Valley, the Boston Corridor, and other geographic regions around the world. And how do we compete with that as Wisconsin? So how many people have read this book, Jumpstarting America? So in this book, Jumpstarting America, the authors look at 320 MSAs, municipal statistical areas in the United States, and they rank order the top 100 innovation hubs for the next 100 years. 3 of them are in Wisconsin. Number 18 is the Appleton, Green Bay, Oshkosh, Neenah MSA. Number 22 is the Janesville, Beloit, Madison MSA. And number 27 is the Milwaukee, Waukesha, West Dallas, Racine MSA. And I just can't help but believing that if we were able to link those 3 areas together into an innovation triangle, I think we would be in the top 10 within the United States to really drive innovation. Because remember, every time we connect, communicate, and collaborate, our world fundamentally changes. And then we can take that innovation triangle and connect it to the other innovation hubs within the state. And then we can really drive this idea of providing every single Wisconsinite the opportunity to thrive. So I'd like to leave you with this one last thought. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's an African proverb, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. To which I would add, if you want to go further, faster, go together as one Wisconsin. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much for that. We are there. You are all amazing. The goal of the Wisconsin Economic Summit, I would say, is to get people to think, and to think differently, and to learn things. I think we might have done that. I think we might have overdone it. We've just had an incredible, incredible day and a half of panelists and speakers and moderators, and I'm filled with gratitude for the time that folks have taken to share with us what they're doing. I mean, think about all of the speakers that we had. Think about the panelists that we have. Think about the incredible, important work that they are doing out in the universe. And think about the fact that they chose to spend some time with us in the last little while and share their brilliance and give us the opportunity to think about how we can take that into our work as we support Wisconsin and think about the Wisconsin economy. So thank you to all of the speakers and the panelists for sharing with us your brilliance. We are gonna do 2 more things. One is we're gonna go back to our question about innovation. So remember yesterday, what am I gonna do, Sarah? There we go. Remember yesterday we asked you, what are the top 3 things when you think about, when it comes to innovation and when you hear someone say innovation? So if you scan the code, we can go back and we can do one more word cloud. And we can start to think about, has anything changed? Are you putting in, Ben, are you putting circular back in? Ben has been with WEDC since Monday. And he told me that his word was circular, so I hope he doesn't mind that I just told the universe that. But I think that there's just so many different ways that we can think about innovation and think about what's happening in Wisconsin. We can use it to inspire ourselves, to support the early detection legislation that Dr. Gupta talked about yesterday. We can think about inspiring ourselves to support artists and the work that they do to bring humanity to our world. It was such a wonderful panel on the arts to finish up the day. And we can think about all of this happening in Wisconsin, and I'm so excited to see the word Wisconsin now appearing on our word cloud. I'm pretty sure we didn't see that at least as large yesterday. So thank you so much for participating in this. We can keep this going, but I wanted to let you know innovation doesn't always come in coming up with something completely new. Sometimes you copy what someone else has done. And Team Platteville, we have Platteville folks in the room? Here we go, we got a couple back there. Well, I was at a rural entrepreneurship conference a few months ago in Platteville, they did something that we're copying today, which is they offered vouchers or gift certificates for folks to go out into the community and enjoy what's happening. That was in Platteville. We're going to do it today in La Crosse. So as you leave today, rather than having a boxed lunch, which, God, who doesn't love a good boxed lunch? They always put mayonnaise on the sandwiches, and I hate mayonnaise. So instead of having a boxed lunch, we have vouchers for you to get on your way out, and you can just take a hot minute and go get some coffee for the road if that's what you want, or grab a friend and have some lunch and enjoy and maybe talk a little bit about what you learned at the summit. So those are going to be available on your way out, and we're really excited about that. Thank you to La Crosse for supporting this great event, and thank you all for coming and spending the time with us. It's really been incredible. I will say that we've been recording the whole event, and what I'm going to ask the team to do as we head into the next little while here is to break up that recording into little snippets, because I know I want to be able to send Dr. Gupta's speech to some folks. I want to be able to re-listen to the panel on the arts, and if you want to have a chance, if there's something that you're like, oh, that was really good, but Missy, you overdid it, and I need to go back and listen to that, we're going to make that available to you. Pete's talk will be on there, all of these different pieces. So, I hope that you think about sharing something with others who weren't able to be here the last couple days. So again, thank you so much for taking the time with us and sharing your brilliance with us as we think about how to move Wisconsin forward. Thank you.
What an incredible few days it's been here at the summit, eh? Yeah. I would like, on behalf of all of us, to give a special thanks to Secretary Missy Hughes and Deputy Secretary Sam Rickers and the WEDC team for this amazing, amazing, amazing event. And we'd love to thank each and every one of you, the innovators, the ideators, the visionaries, the investors, creatives, creators, thinkers, makers, shakers, AI Imagineers, entrepreneurs, and futurists. Keep forcing Wisconsin innovation forward. Thank you for your presence at the 3rd Annual Wisconsin Economic Summit, and we will see you next year. We are? Now go be Wisconsin. Have a great day. Safe travels.